Does any movie genre have a more passionate fan base than horror? Horror fans are an insatiable bunch who will give just about any type of film a chance and keenly seek out the strangest, most off-kilter stuff one can possibly imagine. However, even with horror being among the most commercially reliable of those genres, there are still some films that, despite being fully filmed or at least deep into production, will probably never see the light of day. Making any movie, even a bad one, is extremely difficult, let alone getting it in front of people and navigating all the tedious business landmines that can stonewall a film's release. And so the following 10 pictures are all unlikely to ever be viewed by the vast majority of us, either because they're stuck in post-production limbo, had their release cancelled for strange reasons, the film negative has been lost, or the filmmakers themselves simply won't grant the movie a proper release. Whatever the reason, these features have all amassed a cult of intrigue around their existence, and the very slim possibility that they could one day be released. But simply put, don't get your hopes up. I'm Sean Ferrick for What Culture Horror, and here are 10 horror movies you'll probably never see. Number 10. It doesn't get any better than this. It's not uncommon for filmmakers to champion the sanctity of the big screen theatrical experience, but this is something else. It Doesn't Get Any Better Than This is a micro-budget found footage film from directors, stars Nick Toty and Rachel Kempf, revolving around two horror filmmakers who find themselves pursued by a mysterious cult. When the first trailer was released in early 2024, it ended by regretfully informing viewers that the movie would never be released online, imploring interested parties to see it in theaters before it's too late. And while this could have easily been a cynical marketing ploy on the part of Toty and Kempf to drum up interest in their film's cinema run, they ended up keeping to their word. To date, It Doesn't Get Any Better Than This has only been shown at physical in-person screenings, with the unconventional release generating enough hype for it to even play at the Toronto International Film Festival. This then led to a limited 10-city US theatrical release in early 2025. While the lack of an online release initially began as a gimmick to help It Doesn't Get Any Better Than This stand out, its success has driven the directors to affirm that, no, it won't ever be available in digital form, instead living on as a travelling movie set to screen only at venues where it's requested. Number 9. All-American Massacre. Did you know that there's a secret unreleased entry into the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise? All-American Massacre began filming in 1998 and was intended to be the series' 5th entry, following the widely panned Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Next Generation. The picture was set to be a sequel and prequel to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, and though initially designed as a 15-minute short, it was ultimately expanded into an hour-long feature. Original Texas Chainsaw Massacre director Tobe Hooper's son William helmed All-American Massacre, while Bill Moseley returned as the fan-favorite villain Chop Top, who was revealed to have survived his seemingly fatal tumble at the end of the second movie. Set many years later, Chop Top would reveal the Sawyer family's origins to reporters through flashbacks, before embarking on a new massacre in the present. Oh, and legendary guitarist Buckethead played Leatherface, because why wouldn't they? More than 25 years later, All-American Massacre still remains unreleased, leaving fans with only a brief glimpse from a teaser trailer that eventually found its way online. Though Hooper himself insists that he's still working on releasing the film, so much time has passed that fans won't believe it's happening until they're actually watching it for themselves. Number 8. Sin-Jin Smyth. Sin-Jin Smyth is a supernatural horror film set in a dystopian America that has descended into an authoritarian police state as two federal marshals find themselves dealing with the emergence of Satan. Ethan Dettenmeyer's picture had quite the unique and diverse cast, including Richard Tyson, Halloween star Charles Cyphers, wrestlers Rowdy Roddy Piper and Jacqueline, Korn vocalist Jonathan Davis, and the cult guitarist Billy Duffy. Furthermore, it had a not insignificant budget of $14 million and was initially due to release in 2006. However, the film was continually delayed, and doubts soon emerged about precisely how much of the project had actually been shot, even with 7 minutes of footage landing online in 2008. Some have suggested that the filmmakers lacked sufficient funding to complete all aspects of post-production, with actress Eileen Dietz later claiming that Sin-Jin Smyth is never coming out. The late Roddy Piper was also frustrated that the production continued to use his name for promotional purposes without having a finished film, and given how little we've heard about Sin-Jin Smyth over the last decade, it's clear that it's never going to release, no matter how much of it was actually shot. Number 7. Night Creep. Night Creep is a shot-on-video horror effort directed by Greg Travis in the early 2000s and is largely remembered today for being one of the final movies to star Return of the Living Dead's Don Calfa, even though it's never received a substantial release. Travis's film revolves around a downtrodden exotic dancer played by Christine Sparks, who moves into an apartment owned by an eccentric stroke victim, played by Calfa, before she starts experimenting with the titular drug, which causes her to experience nightmarish visions that blend reality and fantasy. Now, Night Creep did technically release on DVD in Africa and South America, though went out of print within a few years, and for the better part of 2 decades has been largely unavailable. The film unexpectedly screened at the Philadelphia Unnamed Film Festival in 2017, yet anyone expecting this to lead to a new physical or digital release was out of luck, as the strange artifact remains maddeningly unavailable. It's all the more frustrating as the few Letterboxd reviews out in the wild are mostly positive. Number 6. London After Midnight. In terms of lost movies from iconic filmmakers, they don't get much more devastating than London After Midnight, the 1927 silent vampire film from director Todd Browning, he of Dracula fame, and the legendary Lon Chaney. Though the film received a substantial release at the time, the last known copy was destroyed in the 1965 MGM Vault fire, along with hundreds of other works from the era. In 2002, TCM commissioned a 45-minute reconstruction of London After Midnight using surviving production stills. Yet, given that 60 years have passed since the MGM fire, it seems overwhelmingly unlikely that another print will ever be unearthed. For many, the next best thing is the 1935 talkie remake that Browning produced, Mark of the Vampire, which subbed out Chaney, who died in 1930, for Bela Lugosi. Despite being wiped off the face of the earth, London After Midnight has nevertheless influenced subsequent horror films, with the design of Chaney's antagonist inspiring the look of the title character of 2014's The Babadook. And so, there's still a clear audience for the original movie, even if the prospect of ever seeing it is incredibly dim. Number 5. Slashed. Now this one's really weird, but also intensely fascinating. In 2003, tabloids reported that rock band Ash were working on a teen slasher horror film called Slashed. And indeed it's true. While the band was on tour in the US, they shot the movie with director Alexander Marks and screenwriter Jed Shepard of Host and Dashcam fame, which focused on a pair of FBI agents played by Coldplay's Chris Martin and Johnny Buckland tracking down a supernatural serial killer. The film also included appearances from Moby, Dave Grohl, Ash themselves, and even actor James Nesbitt. Ultimately, production was never fully completed, and so Slashed was never released, though segments of footage were repurposed as the music video for Ash's 2010 single, Binary. That music video shows off the scuzzy digital camcorder aesthetic and decidedly not professional nature of the shoot, more akin to a group of friends goofing around. But given the talent involved, it's still a curio that many horror and music fans would love to see in its entirety. Number 4. Unfollowed. Unfollowed was intended to be the directorial debut of filmmaker Bryce Maguire, who last year made his real debut with Night Swim. Unfollowed was a low-budget screen life horror film following a group of live streamers who stream from inside a haunted asylum with predictably disastrous results, and the entire movie taking place on the protagonist's phone. Though it was initially due for release in 2018 and had the backing of producer Timoy Bekmambetov, 7 years later, Unfollowed still hasn't been released. Unfollowed was test screened online in 2020, where it received decidedly lukewarm notices from a smattering of attendees, after which point its release was seemingly cancelled, as nothing has been publicly said about its existence since. It's surely a frustrating outcome for anyone who's worked on the film, especially in an era where there are effectively limitless virtual platforms to release even the worst tier of horror flicks. While Unfollowed could be quietly dumped on a streaming service one day if the budget was low enough for its erasure to be more cost effective than spending money on its release, that's probably what's happened here. Number 3, the Fourth Reich. 2015's The Fourth Reich certainly has an attention-grabbing concept. A fleet of British soldiers sent into occupied mainland Europe find themselves facing an army of Nazi zombies. 'Cause why not? While Nazi zombies have admittedly been done to death over the last 10 to 15 years, it had hardly worn out its welcome in the early 2010s, and so it's easy to see why filmmaker Sean Robert Smith jumped on the concept. The film was apparently fully shot around 2012 and boasted a distinguished cast, including Sean Bean, probably died, let's be real, Sean Pertwee, Jason Fleming, Doug Bradley, and Tom Savini, yet still hasn't seen the light of day. Smith's personal website insists that the Fourth Reich is still on the horizon, though given that he directed the thriller Broken in 2016 and nothing since, it's also easy to surmise that maybe he's since moved on from filmmaking as a whole. Still, given the talented cast, it's baffling that this one hasn't made it out, especially if shooting was indeed completed. Number 2, the Onania Club. The Onania Club is the new film from the Human Centipede director Tom Six, the filmmaker's latest slice of shock horror, which follows a group of women who get sexually aroused by the misery of others. The movie was shot in 2017, and Six first released the teaser trailer in 2018, which provocatively showed the titular group pleasuring themselves to footage of the 9/11 attacks, because Tom Six is gonna Tom Six. However, the Onania Club's release has been subject to numerous delays and periods of prolonged silence, reportedly due to the original distributor deciding not to release it. As of 2025, the film still remains in limbo without a new distributor, even as Six continues to encourage fans to campaign for its release. At present, it's only been shown to a small pool of critics and industry insiders, and most surprisingly, veteran director John Waters, who, while praising the film, said there's a good chance general audiences won't ever get to see it. Number 1, the King Kong that appeared in Edo. And finally, we have The King Kong That Appeared in Edo, a two-part silent Japanese horror film released in 1938, which was produced without obtaining permission from RKO Pictures to use the Kong character. Though the movie is sadly lost to time, it's widely assumed that distributor Zensho Cinema used the King Kong name for marketing purposes only, given that the few surviving promotional images show a more human-sized ape-like creature that clearly isn't the towering Kong. It isn't known precisely what happened to prints of the King Kong that appeared in Edo, though historians have largely assumed that when Zensho Cinema was shut down, the reels were likely destroyed, preservation be damned. So, short of someone discovering a watchable spare reel of the film in their grandpa's basement in the future, a possibility that becomes less likely with each passing year, I might add, it's incredibly improbable that anyone will ever get to feast their eyes upon this genre curio, unfortunately.